So to modify custody, Marshall, we have kind of definitions that the Rivero case has given us, and then we have this big Romano decision that we're going to get into. So just to kind of start off, what does joint versus primary custody mean in Nevada? And in your answer, I want to include, how do the courts define what a custodial day is?
Well, it's funny because in the history of Nevada custody law, even though we've been arguing about custody for years and years and years and years, there was never any good definition until 2009 in the Rivero 2 case. And in Rivero, the Supreme Court selected a definition for sole custody and for joint custody. And they decided that joint custody, we're talking physical custody. We'll talk about, we have to distinguish between legal and physical custody in every case. But in terms of physical custody, they define joint custody as any timeshare, which is 60-40 or closer. People say, well, what does that mean? Given that we have a 7-day week, basically it means a 4-3 timeshare split. But it doesn't need to be entire days. And the judges got very creative in figuring out what constituted a day. There were all kinds of bizarre opinions from all kinds of judges, some of them coming up with 12-day weeks and other bizarre constructs. You'll find an article about that on the published works page of our website called "How Many Days Are in a Week?" and the definition from the Rivero 2 decision, where I explore all those comments. And I've done another more recent article on the interrelationship between time and child support. But to answer your question, Nevada is very different than virtually every other state. Most states have a much simpler what to count, counting for timeshare, either overnights or meals or some other combination. Nevada talks about responsibility. And well, what does that mean? And the answer is that there's some room, unfortunately, for skullduggery, but basically, who is it that's acting as a parent? Who actually is responsible for making day-to-day decisions and being responsible for the child's actions? Even if you're not in the immediate physical custody, if the child isn't in your immediate physical custody. For example, if you've got the child with the daycare center, or you've got a child in school, who is it that's responsible for the child during that time? And that's the decision the courts have to make in determining who is exercising custody at that moment. But the question for joint custody is 60-40 or not 60-40. If it's more than 60% to one parent, it's presumptively primary physical custody to that parent. If it's 60-40 or closer, all the way to 50-50, then it's considered joint custody.